I'm here today to share with you 5 Rolex watches that, in my experience, no one really buys. Now, of course, the watches end up somewhere. They go to different dealers, they go to wholesalers, they go to gray market people. But generally, these are going to be watches that, from my personal experience, I just don't see people buying anywhere near to as close as they're buying things like the Daytona, the Sub, stainless GMT Master. So these are going to be 5 watches that all pretty cool watches, and they're nice, they're Rolex, but people just don't seem to want them. But before we do that, guys, please do not forget to check out my new website, chronograbs.com, where you can buy and sell watches at 0% commission. So many cool watches from different people, private party, anything, anywhere from Seiko to expensive Patek Philippe. It's on there. It's quick, easy to sign up, takes a minute or under to post a watch. Spent a lot of time on this, and it's 0% commissions. So it's kind of just a nice thing to have out there in the watch community. Check it out, chronograbs.com. So the first watch of Rolex that I just don't see people really buying is the 37mm Yachtmaster. Now, this comes in a couple of different variations. You have the black dial in two-tone. You have the brown dial in two-tone. You have that beautiful blue hand rhodium dial color that is also very cool. But unfortunately, it's just kind of a strange size for people to be buying. Now, this watch is generally considered to be mid-size. I think that's what Rolex calls it. But unfortunately, it wears a bit like a lady's watch. Now, hey, I'm not against wearing small watches. I have a small wrist myself at about 6.5 inches in circumference. But unfortunately, the lug-to-lug is pretty small, and it wears very small on the wrist. Now, even though it's 37 for the width, just because of that lug-to-lug being smaller, it just kind of is located in a weird space in the Rolex catalog where it's like not really a watch that ladies want, because oftentimes it's too sporty. Now, I'm not saying ladies can't wear a sporty watch, but generally, the more gem set watches are more appealing to the ladies. It's just the trend, don't shoot the messenger. But also for the men, it's not quite big enough unless they have smaller wrists. So this watch does, from what I see, tend to sell a little bit better in places like Asia or places in the world where people are just not as large as in places where people just tend to be bigger people. And that makes sense because people want to wear what's comfortable. And this just is in that pocket where it's not that comfortable. I myself kind of wanted one because I kind of thought that the larger size Yachtmaster is just a little bit too big. I was like, 37 is kind of a nice size. It's kind of, I imagined it would fit like a 36 Datejust, and it kind of does, except it just doesn't sit the same on the wrist. If any of you out there have one, I'd love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Now, this takes us into the Rolex Air King 40. Now, there's 2 references, and there are big differences in the way that the watch kind of looks. Now, at first glance to the untrained eye, sure, it kind of looks like the same watch, but you have the 116900, which is the older Air King 40, and you have the 126900, which is the new Air King 40. Now, the main difference is that you'll notice is the new Air King 40 has crown guards, and it has lume on the numbers, and the previous one didn't have those 2 features. And I think those were criticisms of the watch. With the 116900, it was, this watch kept creeping up into prices for a period of time where I even saw, 1 or 2 of these things sell at about $13,000 because people really did want them. And then it just kind of dawned on them that it wasn't really worth it from what I saw because, while it claimed to be this kind of sporty watch, it didn't have crown guards, so it didn't really meet a lot of the specs that people are looking for in a sport watch, and it didn't have the lume. So it was kind of just like, okay, this is more of a dressier watch with like a sporting dial, but still kind of like an OP, but not, the same size. And so it kind of, much like that 37 Yachtmaster, it kind of sat in this weird place. And this may be the only time that I have ever seen that Rolex actually took constructive criticism or feedback. They threw on the crown guards, and they put lume on, which is a no-brainer, honestly, for a sporting watch. And people seem to like this watch a lot more, but at least the older one, unless it's a great deal, I just don't see this watch any longer really selling because people want those two features. Well, if you own these, let me know what you think in the comments below. This takes us into the Cellini kind of reboot, or the Cellini, for those of you out there that are big into the European pronunciations. This is going to be the Rolex 1908. Now, I think these watches are cool. They look nice. They have a exhibition case back, the sapphire case back, so you can see the movements. Rolex actually decided to do some decoration on some of their movements for this watch, but it's a dress watch. And when it comes to Rolex, people like the sporting watches. Sure, there's some people that kind of just like the dressier watches, or they want to wear their Daytona on a strap, but it's still a sporting watch on a strap. And that's kind of the situation here, is there just doesn't seem to be a lot of buyers or collectors out there that want to pay, $20,000+ for a dress watch if they're not going to be dressing up every day. Now, if they have a collection of 20 watches, hey, maybe they'll get it, throw it in there for when, they go to their fundraiser where they have to wear a nice button-down suit or a tuxedo, and they'll slap on the 1908. Makes sense. But if you got, 3, 4, 5 watches, do you want to own a Rolex dress watch when you're getting into Patek Philippe pricing, you're getting into Vacheron pricing, and you're getting into, precious metal JLC pricing, which are all known for their dress watches? My 2 cents, let me know what you think, comments below, takes us into the two-tone ceramic bezel GMT Master in steel and yellow gold. Now, for whatever reason, in this model, people really just want that root beer two-tone. They want that ever rose. And when it comes to just the yellow gold GMT Master, it's almost like it's just too yellow. It's the contrast of the yellow and black. Sure, I'm throwing in kind of my thoughts on the aesthetics of it, but from what I've seen, I have seen one of these on a person in the wild ever. Only one. And I think that says a lot, especially when I'm generally in an area where people are wearing all these wild watches over here in Palm Beach, and I've just never seen this here. I saw this on one person, and they were a professor, and they just liked the watch. And so I think that this kind of two-tone thing with the yellow gold just doesn't really sell well, or doesn't end up at end collectors at great deal pricing. But this is my take on it. Let me know also if you have this watch. It's not a bad watch at all, but I just think this kind of colorway combo clash just doesn't sit well with today's kind of aesthetic styling trends. Now that takes us into another two-tone watch. It's going to be the two-tone Datejust in yellow gold, just like the ceramic bezel GMT Master with the yellow gold. These watches just don't seem to have big demand for them. Rolex is the king of sport watch, the self-crowned or coronet brand that sells sporting watches. And so when you get the Datejust, they are a go everywhere, do everything kind of a watch. But generally, this is going to be the current reference two-tone Datejusts. And when I see people that want a two-tone Datejust, they're totally okay with paying half of the price and getting a reference that's 2-3 generations back. They're not losing a whole lot in terms of functionality and spec. Still be go anywhere, do anything. You could pay, less than a third of the price retail if you buy an even older one. And people kind of like that vintage charm where the yellow gold has kind of developed a little bit of aging, and it just has kind of a little more something interesting about it, as opposed to kind of just giving that idea of what used to be the retirement two-tone Datejust watch. There's kind of a joke out there in the watch collecting community that this is the quintessential retirement watch, oftentimes given by the employer to the employee when they're retired, but not so much now gifts from family or purchase for yourself. And so when it comes to the two-tone Datejusts, unfortunately, albeit nice watches, good watches, they just don't seem to want to end up on the wrists of at least watch collectors. So guys, this has been a handful of Rolex watches that people just don't seem to want that much. I'd love to see and hear your opinions and comments down in the comments section below. Also, please do not forget to check out Chronograbs, where you can buy and sell at 0% commissions right now. Sign up is easy. We'll see you over there, and we'll also see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.